Hi, and welcome to April's newsletter feedback on the energies that we have been experiencing. And I always really find it fascinating that whatever I'm going through, it would appear that other people have similar processes going on in their life as well. The topic or the theme for April has been around family connections. And I think it's because in April we are thrown together through Easter time. So families get together and all of that dynamic bubbles up to the surface. And we revert to childhood behaviors or to programmed roles, whether I'm the middle child. So I'm obviously going to be the rebellious one, the one that's invisible, all of that stuff that middle children apparently have. And you've got the older sibling, the youngest sibling that gets away with everything, all that kind of stuff. And so we sort of revert into that programming that has been part of a really informative period of time in our lives. I think with family dynamics, what we must remember is that our families shape us. They are our lessons. They're not necessarily where we're going to find love and compassion. It certainly isn't a story for a lot of my clients out there where family dynamics have been really difficult. And I think when we stop looking at our families in a way where we felt cheated of love or neglected or abused or used, all of those processes, but actually start to look at our family and maybe give thanks for who we've become because of them. That's when you really appreciate why you chose your family. I think it's really interesting that we unconsciously repeat patterns in our lives through what we've gained in our family dynamic. And I think that's something that we have the ability to change. That's something that we can consciously change because that's the old program. We need to bring in a new program for who we are as adults. But it is difficult. It's difficult when we step into, let's say, going to a classroom and we're confronted by a teacher and suddenly we feel like we're 10 again, or 5 or 6 or 7, whatever age it was, where that emotional trigger of being confronted by a teacher sort of happens in your life. But it's difficult. Childhood patterns become so ingrained. And it's when we're with our family, when we're surrounded by our family, that those old ingrained patterns resurface and we become that a version of ourselves, I would say. I think was probably a better way to put it, a version of ourselves that isn't who we are right now. And it's how do we explain to our families that we are actually an adult, that we are very capable of supporting ourselves. We don't need to be babied if you are the baby. You don't need to be ignored if you are the middle child. You're certainly not the boss if you're the older child and you have younger siblings. They've all dynamically created a life that belongs to them, and they don't need your supervision per se. So it's been a really interesting month. For myself, I have a family member who has decided to come out to New Zealand very unexpectedly. I don't know why. And I think that's the question I'm going through. This is someone I haven't spoken to or had a conversation with for at least 25 years. At least 25 years, I would say. We've never had conversations before that. We didn't have conversations before that. We didn't have a connection before that. And of course, me with my drama queen mind is racing at 100 miles an hour with the whys and the wherefores and the what ifs. What if this happens? What if this is going to occur? I'm just adjusting my position here. And so it's a really interesting time for me because it has triggered memories, thoughts, and feelings that I really didn't know existed. And that's just because that's that family dynamic thing. Um, and so it's been interesting talking to my clients who are going through really similar things and reflecting on the healing that I've been giving them. Is that what I should be giving myself? I think the thing that we have to remember is that we all have this survival self, this deeply held process, mechanism is probably a better word, a mechanism where it brings things up to the surface for healing. It's very much a theta healing technique, the undercurrent that lies there waiting. And then something will come and it'll trigger it. And then we're like, why am I thinking about that? And I've certainly been looking at my own undercurrent. I'm really aware of some of my family dynamics, especially not having had a father figure in my life from the age of 4. And so quite often my undercurrent will come up and it will connect to or it will silently talk to that, which sounds a really silly thing to say, but in my mind, it's silently talking to our oldest male family member, validating who I've become, validating how successful I am, validating, myself as a person, as a 62-year-old, because really, my last interaction with that particular person was when I was a flower girl and I was about 5. And then when I was in my early 40s. So again, big tracks of time where there's no connection. And then there's just this one instant of connection. So that's my survival self trying to relate to a fatherly figure and looking for that fatherly connection to make me feel better because I haven't had that in my life. And so I then talk to myself as I'm screaming this within my head, going, it's okay, you don't need to validate yourself to any fatherly figure because you're actually fine. You're doing okay. And I think that's that echo that comes up where we don't perceive who we've become. Because when we go back to family, we're instantly back in childhood, whether you're back in a childhood family home, a family holiday home, meeting for a Sunday lunch, and it'll be all of those Sunday lunches that you've had are suddenly in that one place, even though it's decades later, and we suddenly revert back to this process of being quite childlike, and those old behaviors come to the surface. I know for myself, I think in preparation for this family visit, it's really just about being in my own comfort zone. It's about doing what actually is more important for me at that point in time. And by that I mean it's going to really familiar places where I know how the systems work. It's at times of day where I know that I'll be sort of cognitively really alert. I'll be able to hear what's being said. And I will absolutely go into that place of being the quiet one because that was my label. That was my program as a young girl. She's the quiet one. She's the quiet one. She's the quiet one. Sit there and be quiet. She's the quiet one because everyone said, just sit there and be quiet. So that was a really deep program right through until I left home. Children are there to be seen and not heard. Just sit there and be quiet. Don't open your mouth unless you're spoken to. All of those phrases, that programming is really deep. It's a really deep thing. It wasn't until I was in my 20s where actually a work colleague said, gosh, you're really quiet these meetings. So next monthly meeting, you have to host it and you have to open up and start talking. And then I never stopped talking since then. So it was a really wonderful, wonderful exercise. Our families teach us all of those key skills. they program us with those key skills. But it's people outside our families, like this work colleague, who actually help us grow and develop. And we find love and we find friendship and we find the mothering skills and the fathering skills. If we haven't received it in our home, then we receive it external to us. We receive it outside. And that fills us and nurtures us. But we have a foundation. I think the key thing that has really come through for me with my clients, and I've had lots of clients actually this month, all singing the same tune, is that we have the ability to run a new program, regardless of your age. I'm 62 this year, so I'm running new programs all of the time, just through constantly sort of redressing all of the emotional triggers. And do I need that emotional trigger? No. So let's do some healing on that. Let's move on from that. And it's someone called it sifting. I thought that was a wonderful description that this particular client gave. We were going through, and the next thing came up, the next thing. So it's just like we're sifting through the emotional baggage that's there. I think the key thing that we have to recognize is that we'll always have our families. They will always give us the skills, the foundation that will set us up for life, but it's only the foundation. We have the absolute joy of being able to expand on that and to change the design of who we are and to reinvent ourselves. And it's never too late to reinvent yourself. It's never too late to let go of some of those really deeply held, ingrained ways that we've been taught. We can absolutely keep refreshing and rebooting, if you will, our mindscape into something that really supports you, that attracts new people into your life, who then give you the next level of personal evolution. So thank your family, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of whether it's been difficult, hard, brutal, through whatever it is, loving, caring, all of those positive sides. I believe I've just said all of the negative sides, but that's more reflective of my life sometimes. Just thank all of your family. You don't have to be friends with them. You don't have to love them if you don't want to. You don't have to adhere to their request if it doesn't fit in with you, your life, your program. But thank them definitely for creating a foundation, because without that foundation, you've got nothing to grow from and to evolve from. And I think that has been the biggest lesson I have seen in my clients this month as they leave feeling unburdened, feeling that they can actually step outside the family norm and express themselves in a really dynamic and a wonderful way. And I know for myself, I'm working through preparing myself for meeting this family member after what has been a very, very long time of no physical contact. It's going to be interesting. I'm sure I'll do a whole episode on that when that event occurs. So that's been April's energy. One of the things I have been up to, guys, is I have created a brand new catalogue of meditations looking at stress, anxiety. We've got past life connections, just one which is heavenly angelic connection, which is just basking in the glory of the angels. We've got the master numbers, number 11, 22, 23, and 88. all with different energetic processes around them. And then we've got the angel numbers of 111, 222, 333, etc., right up to 888. I know that's something I frequently see. It makes me giggle every time I see those numbers, but I think it's really lovely to actually go into meditation and to connect to the vibration of those triple numbers and what the meaning of that is when you keep seeing those numbers. So even if you just use it just to read the descriptions, if you're seeing triple numbers all the time, reading the description, go, that's why that's there. But I would hope that you go in and meet the angels around those numbers and to get some deeper insights as to where you are right now. So check out the new meditations. Still have my live classes. Reiki 1 is more or less full for June. There's only one space left. Reiki 3, I believe, is also full. But if you would like to come on board with Reiki, be that person that heals yourself, become really supportive, self-aware, then the Reiki 1 class is where we start. So just check out the dates on the website. So until the next time, you can see me here on YouTube, in the newsletter, and now on Substack. And there's some meditations on Spotify. We're getting out there, guys. Until the next time, take care for now.